Hello, everyone. Welcome to this episode of the Keeping It Sporty podcast. You can listen to us on Spotify, Apple, or by visiting our website at keepingitsporty.com. On today's episode, we have a very special guest. However, before we introduce the special guest, we have Nathan Skopitz joining me to co-host this episode. Welcome back,
Great
Nathan.
to be here again, Elias. Thanks for
Great
having
to
me.
have you. Great to have you. Okay, now for our very special guest. He was the former executive director of the NHL Coaches Association, and he is now the general manager of PWHL Ottawa. I welcome to the show Mike Hirshfeld. Mike, how's it going?
I'm great, guys. Thanks for having me on. Really great to be here.
Oh, thank you for agreeing to do this. We really appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Okay, Mike, why don't we start with this? Why don't you describe what you've done before becoming the GM of PWHL Ottawa, maybe giving us a little bit of a backstory?
Yeah, I've had a bit of a, I guess, unusual career. Unique, maybe is how you describe it. I started my career actually in sports, working in minor league baseball. So the first ever job I had was working for the Welland Pirates, which was the rookie ball team for the Pittsburgh Pirates at the time in Welland, Ontario. I went from there. I spent 2 years working for the Ottawa Lynx, which was the AAA team for the Montreal Expos, and then spent 4 years working in Toronto for Howie Starkman at the Toronto Blue Jays. So my career started, that was during university in baseball. I then went to law school. I practiced 4 years as a lawyer, corporate law in Toronto. And then I went into the finance business, did that for 14 years. And then was fortunate when I left finance to take on the challenge of building the NHL Coaches Association. That was back in 2016. The association was a small group of coaches who wanted to get a bigger voice in the game of hockey. And so I had the opportunity to help build that association. And then I left last year from that role to take on, this new opportunity to be the GM of PWH Ottawa. So it's been a unique career path to get to this point. But obviously really happy where I am right now, and there's been some interesting moves along the way.
Yeah, how about that, huh? What a career.
Yeah, definitely.
So, Mike, how do you think that's prepared you for life as a big league GM?
Well, I think I bring a unique perspective. So I think I come at things a little bit differently than others would, which I think is a benefit. I think a lot of people have done it one way for a long time, and we're trying to approach it, with a new viewpoint, not taking things for granted just because they've been done a certain way for 5, 10, 15 years, whatever it may be. So I think a unique perspective is definitely valuable. I think, again, it's a unique skill set. We think we're very strategic in how we approach building our organization. Every decision we make is very collaborative with our team. And we're really looking at, how does that decision impact us in the short term, in the medium term, and in the long term. So I think that's an approach that comes from, the corporate world where I, again, was for many years. So that's been a benefit. And I think, I think we look at things quite critically. So again, we're willing to challenge the status quo. So all of those skills, I think, are quite unique, and I think they've put me in a good position to succeed here. And we're really excited what's ahead for us here in Ottawa.
Yeah, you've definitely had a variety of skill sets that have been leading up to this. And before we get into PWHL Ottawa in specific, what's your outlook on the future of the league? I mean, with respect to fans, talent, broadcasting, expansion, etc.
Look, I think we're really excited about how the first year went. The response from fans across North America was incredible. I think fans had the opportunity to see these athletes perform, compete, and I don't think they appreciated how skilled and talented they were. And so, again, I think the more and more people see the talent that's on the ice, I think they're going to just fall in love with this sport and this game and this league. And that, I think, means it's just going to be exciting things ahead. And, we're very, very fortunate with our ownership group. I think that's a differentiator from, all the past leagues that have come along before, or tried to come along before in women's hockey. Mark Walter and his family have been incredibly supportive of the league, and put a lot of their own personal wealth behind it. And I think that's very exciting for what's ahead. Because again, they've made that financial commitment to do what's necessary, and again, you saw that pay off last year. So really, really excited and bullish about what's ahead, and think that this league's going to continue to grow, and excited to be a small part of it. Here, right here at the beginning. But again, we think there's big things ahead, and so it's really nice to to see it grow and to see the support that we're getting.
Yeah, absolutely. And speaking of Mark Walter and the Walter Cup last season in the PWHL's inaugural season, it was emotional.
Right.
Yeah, it was emotional. Ottawa finished just in fifth, a few games out, very close, emotional finish. So how do you feel about improving in your approach to improving? And how do you feel about your playoff chances and your shot at the Walter Cup?
Yeah, I mean, I think last year, we were really proud of the organization we built. And, a lot of the stuff we did off the ice, we led the league in sellout crowds of 8,500 people in TD Arena in Ottawa every night. We really connected well with the community. So, everything we did off the ice, we were thrilled with. Obviously what happened on the ice was disappointing. We controlled our own destiny, and unfortunately we lost our last 3 games, and that meant we missed the playoffs by a couple of points. But again, some things didn't work out for us last year, and we're taking that as a learning lesson, and really excited for year 2. And we've made a lot of changes with our player group, some things that we really wanted to focus on and get better on for next year. And we think that puts us in a really great position to really compete hard for the trophy. And you look at what happened last year. Minnesota snuck into the playoffs in the last game of the season because we lost that last game, and they ended up winning the whole thing. So it's a really competitive league. A lot of it have to get some luck at the right time. But it's about peaking at the end of the season, and we feel like we're in a really good spot to do that, and excited for what's ahead.
Yeah, I mean, your team did make a lot of moves, which we'll touch on in a little bit, along with the core of the team. But I wanted to ask you, what does your day-to-day life look like as GM of PWHL Ottawa during this season? I mean, how different is each day from the next?
Well, I think this year it was really different every year because we just didn't know what we were walking into, and that was the exciting part, is we were really building a team and a league from scratch. So you never knew it was around the corner, but that kind of made it fun, to be honest with you. But my job primarily is really to oversee our organization as a whole. And I mentioned a couple minutes ago, we're very collaborative in our approach. We really want to empower our staff, so that whether that's our coaching staff, our therapists, our strength coaches, our equipment manager, we really want to empower them and give them an opportunity to, succeed at their job and grow in their roles. So a lot of my job is just helping them achieve that success. So it's, working with them to see how they can get better personally, how they can do a better job for the athletes. And then, the other big part of my job is really removing, barriers that they have in their way. So wherever there may be a challenge in their job or in their role, it's how do I help them remove that barrier so that they can succeed. So, that's a lot of my day. Again, we've really empowered our group to focus on the smaller stuff. My job is really to act at the 10,000-foot level and make sure the organization continues to move forward. Again, we want to focus on the short term, making sure we're getting better every day. We want to make sure we're getting better long term and make sure we're focused on how do we make sure that we're better 3 years from now, 5 years from now, 7 years from now, because this isn't a 1 year plan for us. This is about making Ottawa PWHL, the best in class in the PWHL this year and beyond. And not just the PWHL, but we also want to be one of the best organizations in professional women's sports. So that's what motivates us every day. That's what drives us. And my job is to, again, think about it from a high level and how do we empower our people to achieve those goals.
Yeah, and that's a terrific way to look at things. And now, Elias, you and I attended the All-Star game in Toronto last year, and we saw the PWHL showcase live. And Savannah Harmon, who scored a hat trick, as well as Emmerich Maschmeyer, Brianne Jenner, and Emily Clark, who all had great games, by the way, they were all there representing Ottawa. So we want to know, what has it been like working with such a talented and experienced core and building around them from that 10,000-foot level?
Yeah, I mean, those players that you mentioned, they're obviously incredible hockey players. And that's the reason we brought them to Ottawa, is to be part of our core, not just last year, but long term. They'll all be with us for 3-year contracts. That was the longest, that's the longest contract a player in this league can sign, and they're all signed for 3 years. So we're excited to have them in Ottawa for 2 more years after this. But when we were looking at who we wanted to bring to Ottawa, we were very specific in the characteristics of the players that we wanted to bring. So for us, it's about building an organization long term and being best in class. And so we wanted great hockey players. Obviously, that goes without saying. Every team wants great hockey players, but we also wanted athletes that are great people. And all 4 of those players that you mentioned and that represented us in the All-Star game last year are terrific people, off the ice. So they're great people on the ice. They're great leaders on the ice, great teammates on the ice, but off the ice, they're even better people. And so again, when you're trying to build an organization from the ground up, again, that was really important for us, was setting the culture that we wanted here, again, last year, this year coming up, and 3 to 5 years down the road. And we feel like all of those players help us formulate that culture. I mean, we also, I think that's a lot of that's driven as well by our head coach, Carla McLeod. She's just a really positive, energetic person. And again, that was important for us in setting the culture. So I have nothing but positive things to say about those 4 players. And again, what Carla's done. And I feel like, obviously I'm biased, but I feel like we are in a really good spot, and we have, probably the best culture in terms of our clubhouse in the league.
Absolutely. I mean, you could feel that culture watching the games,
Indeed. Yeah, I was going to say the culture is very important, obviously, and building around the core is also important. And so you've been active this offseason, headline, of course, with the signing of second overall pick Danielle Serdachny to a 3-year deal. And for those who don't know, Serdachny scored the game-winning OT goal against Team USA in the Women's World Championships back in April. How do you feel about your new additions this year and what they bring to the team and building around that core?
Yeah, Elias, it's a good question. And, again, we feel really good going into this season, and that's because we were able to check a bunch of things off of our list, things we wanted to improve on from last year. So, one of them, first and foremost, was getting tougher, getting a little grittier. I don't think we appreciated the physicality of this league last year, and that's on me. I missed that. I don't think any of us recognized how those battles would be and how tough those battles would be out there. So we want to get tougher. We want to get grittier. We wanted to add some size to our lineup, particularly on the back end. We felt like we got pushed around maybe a tiny bit too much in some of our games last year. And so we wanted to make sure we clear that net in front of MASH and our new goalie, Gwyneth Phillips. So that was important for us too, was the size aspect of it. And again, we wanted to get deeper on the back end. We gave up the second most goals last year. And so we wanted to add some size and physicality, particularly on our defensive core. So I think we were able to accomplish all of those things. I mean, Danielle Serdachny is an incredible talent. We think she's going to be a foundational player in this league. And that's why we're thrilled to sign her to a 3-year contract. She brings size. She's 5'9". She brings toughness. She can carry it. She's a 200-foot player, so she's going to be really strong for us, both in the offensive and defensive zone. She can carry the puck, for us the length of the ice. So we feel really excited to have her as part of our core group moving forward. Ronja Savalainen, who joined us, was our second-round pick from Finland. I mean, she's again another tough competitor, gritty. You don't want to be playing against her. She's gonna make you feel her presence. So again, that was really important for us on the back end. And Ronja, she's been playing professionally in Sweden now. She's 26 years old, so she's a little bit older than some of the draft picks, but she's been playing in Sweden now professionally for the last couple of years, and they've won 6 straight championships, the team that she's been on. So she'll bring a winning attitude as well, which we think will help us. We want to get a little bit deeper in net just to help out MASH. And we're really excited about Gwyneth Phillips, who was our 3rd-round pick this year. She's, I had some of my former colleagues at the NHL Coaches Association. Some of the NHL goalie coaches have a look at her tape. I asked 6 different coaches to look at her tape before we drafted her, and all of them were blown away by her agility, by her speed, by her quickness. And so at her age, she's a young player. She's now the number 3 goalie for Team USA, but we think she has an incredible future ahead of her. So really excited to bring her to Ottawa and watch her work with MASH and grow. And I think MASH will be a great mentor for her. So, again, we accomplished everything we want to do. We got bigger, we got tougher, we got some size on the back end, we got stronger in net. I can go down the list. Steph Markowski, our 4th-round pick, is again another tough defender who blocks shots. Manna McMahon, our 5th pick, is a center who is just super competitive, battles out there on every shift. We really like what she brings to the table. Anna Mexner is, a little bit older player. She played most of her career in Europe. But again, she's been a star for the Austrian team, and we really like the skill set she brings. And then Madeline Wetherington was our 7th-round pick, and again, another big, tough, aggressive defender. So, overall, guys, we feel like we've really improved in areas that we wanted to. And that's why we're excited about next year, because, again, we think, that the areas that we struggled last year won't be areas of struggle this year. And that puts us in a really good position to succeed.
Yeah, it sounds like you have a really well-balanced team this year. And I mean, that has a chance to really do some great things and have a good chance of winning this Walter Cup this year.
Absolutely. And look,
Fingers crossed.
Yes, fingers crossed.
Hey, and Mike, you've talked about team culture, and you've talked about how the fan base in Ottawa is incredible, top tier. What do you think that means for bringing talent and sort of attracting talent to Ottawa for this year and years to come?
Yeah, I mean, I think that gives us an advantage over the other teams, to be quite honest with you. Like, I think players come to Ottawa and they see the excitement in the fan base. They see a sold-out crowd every night. So, again, I think that helps us when we've had conversations this offseason with free agents that we've brought to Ottawa. They've all been excited to be a part of that. We have a great situation in Ottawa. It's a really terrific city. You can live very close to the arena, 10 minutes away, because our arena is right downtown. We practice and play in the same spot. A lot of teams in our league don't have that benefit. They have to practice somewhere different than they play their games. So, you put all that together, we think we have something really attractive to offer players. We think we're a really great spot for European players to come and play, just because Ottawa is obviously the capital city. There's a lot of diplomats, a lot of government officials here in town. And so there's a lot of nationalities, here in Ottawa. So we think, our team, we think, represents that. We have 3 players from Czech. We have a player from Austria now. We have a player from Finland. Last year, we had a player from Hungary. We had a player from Germany. We had a player from Japan. So I think that's always going to be an identity for us, is that international piece of the puzzle. But yeah, overall, we're really thrilled with, the support we've gotten in Ottawa. I can't say enough positive things about our fan base and how they've gotten behind the team. And I know the players, that really resonates with the players and motivates them. And I know they're excited to be here. So I think that will give us an advantage in years ahead. As we try and attract them through the free agent market to come to Ottawa.
Great stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely a multicultural team as well, which is always nice to have, right?
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
yeah.
Well,
And
I think, again, we talk a lot about it, but different perspectives, diversity of thought, that's important to us in our organization. We've hired people. We don't want just, the same viewpoints. We want people who have different experiences and different backgrounds. And that's how you challenge the conventional way of thinking and the conventional norms in professional sports. So we've done that at a front office level, but I think it also helps on the ice. I think it brings a different perspective. And I think that'll help us, moving forward.
Yeah, you can really feel that at the level of the organization.
Definitely. And yeah, my final question is, what has been your favorite thing about being the GM of this team, and what's your most memorable moment, or excuse me, memorable moment thus far?
We know it's been almost a year, just a few days short.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it will be a year very soon. You know what, Elias, is a good question. I mean, obviously, opening night for us was electric in TD Arena. We had a sold out crowd, and it was our first ever game, and we played Montreal, like obviously a rival. So that was a pretty special experience. I know the players really, really enjoyed it, and that's something they'll remember forever. I think from my perspective, personally, I think a little bit bigger. Like when I took this opportunity, it was about helping these athletes build a league. And again, I'm just a very, very small part of it. But, the fact that we're building something where there'll be a legacy long after I'm gone. I mean, if this league is still here and running in 30, 40, 50 years, the number of young women, not just in Canada, but across, the US and Europe, that'll have a chance to play in this league and can grow up and dream about playing professional hockey. The legacy of building something like that and being part of it, that to me is what really excites me and what motivates me is what will be left behind. And that's what drives me every day. So it's a really fun job in that respect. Obviously there's lots of challenges. I'm not trying to say it's easy, but it's easy to be motivated when you think about the impact it can have on these young female athletes, for generations to come.
How about that? That's fantastic. Very well said.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Listen, Mike, thank you so much for taking the time to do this today. We both really appreciate it, and continued success in the upcoming season and for the future of the PWHL and for the team, of course.
My pleasure, guys, and all the best to you. I hope your podcast continues to grow, and I'm excited to see what's ahead for both of you.
Thank you so much. Take care.
Okay.